Hi, welcome to the garden. It's been a little while since our last visit, and I just wanted you to see how after a while an established garden keeps growing. And when it keeps growing the way it does, the plants eventually will grow together, and instead of having two separate species or specimens, I have one that's growing together into one big plant. Well, we're going to rectify that today. This is Color Flash astilbe, one of my favorites. Not used often enough in the landscape. The foliage will turn a beautiful red color as the season progresses. So besides its gorgeous flowers, it also has a nice foliage that adds interest to the garden. So I have my little silver bullet. I'm just going to work underneath the plant and start loosening it from the garden. Astilbe are very shallow rooted plants and easy to loosen up. So I'm just loosening my soil, getting it up. And now we're ready to start dividing the plant. I'm not going to lift the whole plant out in one big chunk. I'm going to cut it into sections. So with a straight, sharp, in this case, dirty shovel, we're going to wiggle in between the foliage gently, and with one firm thrust, cut down through the roots. Just moving along. I like to move the foliage out of the way a little bit. There's no reason to totally destroy the plant. So by moving it around, when you have those chunks that you're going to share with your friends and neighbors, they aren't all mutilated. So let me cut this apart, and then we're going to start to lift it.
Okay.
Here we are. I have most of this divided, cut loose. It's moving. Now I'm going to use my next favorite tool, one of my favorite tools, my Japanese digging knife. And with the serrated, sharpened blade, I'm going to come underneath and begin cutting away some of the root. And then we can move down. What I'm trying to accomplish here is to cut it into usable chunks. So now I cut this part with the shovel. You first saw that. Now I have this pulled away, and I'm gonna saw this apart. That's a perfect size to share or transplant. You know, it's already a substantial size plant, but yet it's not going to take over the garden, and you're not going to have to divide it again next year. So we're going to pull this one out of the hole. That is a huge plant, and I can make two very nice gifts of this plant just by cutting down, sharp knife, another lovely chunk. So you don't have to totally destroy a plant when you're taking it out of the ground. If you use a little bit of caution, the proper tools is the biggest part. You can get some nice pieces to put back in your garden. I am going to finish dividing these into giftable sized pieces, and when I come back, we're going to show you how to properly replant your transplanted section in the garden. Perfect. This is the perfect piece for transplanting. There are some folks who ask why I don't just cut out the center of the plant, remove the outer piece, and just keep this little piece here. And the main reason is, I feel it's just as easy, if not easier, to remove the entire plant from the garden. It gives you an opportunity also to improve the soil, to add some amendments, which I always suggest people add a little bit of amendments to their perennial gardens as they are dividing and planting. So in this wheelbarrow, I have composted cow manure, and a pro-planting mix that has some nutrients in it. Not a lot. I like to fertilize my plants on my own. I don't like somebody to do it for me. So in here I have a nice scoop of mixed compost and a peat mix. So it's nice and airy. It's got good organic matter in it, which if you have a clay soil helps to reduce the amount of clay that you're gardening in, or if you have a sandy soil, it helps retain the moisture and the nutrients that are enclosed in the soil needed by your beautiful new transplant. So one more scoop, I think. My garden hole is filled in. Now it's time to reposition my plant. I'm going to move this around a little bit. As I mentioned before, astilbe do not have a deep root system. Don't bury the crown of your plant. You want to plant it at the same height that it was when you took it out of the garden. I'm going to simply just snug this in here and just backfill it, making sure the roots are covered. You want the roots to be covered up. No exposed fibers there. And now I will just firm it in a little bit. I have squirrels, and one thing you'll notice if you have squirrels in your neighborhood and you're transplanting, squirrels are attracted to freshly cultivated soil. I don't know, I've never really had a squirrel tell me why, but I'm assuming it's because they think there's something buried there that's good to eat. So I do figure that I'm going to have some digging around here. Okay, she's firmly planted in the soil. I made sure that the roots were all covered, nothing exposed, firmed it down strong enough so that I don't think the squirrels will rip it out of the ground. My last step in the transplanting process is to water it very well. And I also use a root stimulating fertilizer, which you can find at your independent landscape store, garden center. Comes in a liquid form. You mix it in with your water, give your plant a good dose. I will give this plant another drink of the root stimulator in another week, probably, just to help to bring it along a little bit more, help those roots to find their new soil and make their way. After that, or after I'm done dividing what I have to divide today, I'm going to top dress my mulch and cover up my soil with 2 inches of bark mulch to help keep the weeds down and the moisture in. That's all I have for you today. I thank you very much for joining me in the garden. I'll see you next time. Bye now.